Hello, and welcome to Postcards from a Soul and Her Human. I am the human Gina. It is New Year's Eve. It is a cloudy day here where I am in the Midwest, and it's always a nice day. But it is New Year's Eve, so happy New Year's to all of those out there who are listening. And again, I appreciate you if you are out there listening. It's only been a couple of weeks since I recorded last, which lately this is quick for me. But this is something that I actually wanted to talk about. I think it is going to connect the dots between a couple of really distant, between an idea and an actuality. And I was having a conversation with a very dear friend of mine, and this came up, and it kind of just like everything else that I'm experiencing, it just was kind of a happenstance, just something that came up in conversation that ended up resonating. And I brought it home with me, and it's been with me ever since. So whenever that happens, I become inspired, and this is the subject matter that I want to talk about. And it's funny because I'm thinking about this will be my 30th episode. And when I started this, I had no idea where it was going to go. I had no idea what was going to happen. And I just trusted that what was meant to be would be, which is really honestly the way I live my life now, which is so beautiful and easy. And it's just, I don't know, this whole thing has just been fascinating to me, the whole journey through this. But one of the things that I've talked about a lot in many of my episodes is the need for self-love as a basically as the gateway or the threshold into our ethereal lives, or living a more balanced life between our humanity and our etherealness, or our divinity. And I think that this is something that gets skipped over, not because, not on purpose. I think we just don't really think much about the mechanics of it. And I wanted to talk about the mechanics of it, and the purpose for the mechanics of self-love. And uh having gone through this myself, and of course I'm qualified, we all are, in our own right, to speak about our experience with love. And I've been honest and open about the fact that throughout most of my life in this lifetime, I have really not understood love. I've been in relationships where I thought I was in love, and I realize now that love is something that requires trust, and I was unable to trust. I think that's as simple as I can put it. After all I had been through in my life, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. After all we've gone through, whether it's heartbreak or loss, uh, or or trauma of some other sort, physical or emotional, we lose our ability to just trust without borders. We lose the innocence, which I think is really the whole point of this life. We lose our innocence because when we're born into this world, we are born in as a completely open being. We have no idea what challenges lay ahead. So we are just wide open and in complete wonderment of where we are. If you look at babies, they have no worries, they have no trauma, they have, well, that they're aware of yet, but they're innocent and they're open, and they love unconditionally because they don't know what a condition is. They don't understand how a condition emerges. And I think that even as children, when they start to experience disappointment, or being reprimanded, or anything more difficult, which I don't want to imagine children having to deal with much more than that, but a lot of children do. They go through trauma, they go through loss, they go through physical and emotional abuse and stress. It is what we choose when we come into this world. We choose our parents, we choose our challenges. All of those are choices that we make as ethereal beings, that, things that we want to be challenged with in this world. So as much as I don't want to see a child under stress, I do understand that that is not always I I mean, of course, I don't want to see that, but I do understand that it's there for a purpose. Um, but my point is that as we grow up and when we experience life, we become less innocent. We become conditioned to expect disappointment and heartbreak and all the things in life that lower our vibration. And that lower vibration, of course, is purposeful. And I'm not going to qualify everything I say. You guys know how I feel about all of this if you've listened to more than a few of my podcast episodes. So, um, you know, there, this is just something we decide to go through, and we choose these challenges. So, but as we grow up and we have more and more of these episodes or events in our lives, by the time we reach a certain age, I think it's fair to say that our hearts shut down. We don't recognize it as being shut down until we look back at it when it's reopened. And I think that's an important point to make, especially um, since I had such a stark experience with this. And I just want to highlight this. And this is the purpose why I wanted to do this. The purpose of this podcast was for this, really, this reconditioning of the heart that's necessary for us to even understand how shut down we become when we experience life. And I won't even say, desperate situations. I mean just life, what we go through, the need to work and to eat and to sleep and to exercise, all the things that we need to do in order to have a balanced and healthy life. That can be very stressful depending on your life situation. Uh, I mean, I can go on and on about that, but I don't think that that's necessary. Um, the point is that when we live this life, we become burdened with experience, and the experience is why we came here. Our purpose is to basically reconcile with all of our experiences and then become enlightened. And that's kind of the process of the life that we're here to live. And I'll talk about that more. I think that probably warrants its own podcast. And those ideas are still, this information is still coming in. So uh, I just want to make it clear that, we're here to do this. So these experiences that we have that shut our heart down, and I'll speak of mine. I mean, this is for me, this experiment of this life is, I'm very, very aware of at this point. So looking back and seeing the ups and downs or the missteps or the mistakes or the abuses that I suffered. I mean, again, it's easy to, in the lower vibrations, to look at all that and blame and really take no responsibility in pulling ourselves out of it. I get that. I did that for many years. But what we don't understand until we get to the point of reconciliation, and this is the point in our journey where we integrate everything that we've been through, and I'm just learning about this terminology, so it's still coming to me. But as we learn to integrate our life experiences, we gain perspective, and this is really the final stage in our growth, in our learning in a human life. And then we go on to death, which is basically the transcendence of everything that we experienced and experimented with in this world, in this lifetime. So this experimental phase, and this is the phase where we go through all of this, learn all these experiences, relationships and jobs and relocating and all the things that disrupt our lives that cause us to change. These are the things that we are doing in our life, and that are causing this conditioning. I hope that makes sense. So this conditioning, it also affects our heart. We are now conditioned at this stage in our life, whenever we want to stop and look at it, to to not trust, especially when it comes to love, because love is a fragile thing. Love is it's a very tender thing. If you think of a heart, I mean, a lot of people use an opening rose as a way to think of what a heart is. And when a heart opens, it's like a rose opening, and a rose has very fragile petals. And when a rose closes, it's shut down, and you can't easily open it without tearing the petals. So I just want maybe keep that in your mind as we speak about this. So, is that the conditioning that we go through, which causes us to shut down, and it may not be a complete shutdown. I'm not talking about going into your bedroom and never coming out. I'm talking about walking through life thinking you're open, experiencing relationships and change, and feeling like you're open, but your experiences are not enriching. So when you lose something, someone, or an opportunity, or something that you wanted, the experience or the reaction is negative. It is internalized as a bad thing. And bad and good is completely dependent on perspective. But this is my point. When we're in the lower vibrational stages of our human life, our experiences are meant to burden us. The disappointments and the heartbreaks are meant to burden us. We are meant to go through this. We are meant to experience the emotionality. We are meant to experience the outcomes so we can learn. That is the only way to learn. You cannot go through this life without learning. It's just not possible. That's not why we're here. So when we're going through our experimental phase or our experiential phase, where we are experiencing all these different things, we come in with this beautiful open heart, this open rose. And as we go through these life experiences, and we become conditioned, our rose begins to close again. and and for many of us, this rose never reopens. The heart never reopens again because trust is never reestablished. And the difference between loving externally and needing to be cared for or have that rose tended to in a loving way, and doing that love work ourselves for ourselves makes all the difference. So that's where self-love comes in. So if you are in your lower vibrational phase, your experimental phase, and you're having these relationships, and I had, there are three primary relationships I had in my life. The first one was just a few years, and it was a person who wanted to possess me, who he didn't want me to have anything outside of our relationship. And I didn't know any better. I thought that was love at that stage because I had been emotionally, physically, and sexually abused. So, it's easy to see when you look back that first relationship was a total experiment. This is the first time I'm with a person of the opposite gender, or whatever your preference is, and where I was in a love relationship. Well, I thought love relationship where I was experiencing for the first time what it was like, and it was interesting for sure. Back then, I didn't know any better. I thought that love was possessive because I felt that this person must really love me if they want to possess me. Once I got out of that relationship, which I did talk about this briefly before, it wasn't my choice, but I left that relationship because he became interested in someone else. So, time to move on to the next. And the next primary relationship was my first marriage to the father of my daughter, who I described this time in my life as a respite from the karma that I chose to experience, which was primarily victimhood. I was not victimized by my first husband. He was a loving, caring, open hearted person who had the same damage that I did, different onset, but basically the same, where we thought we were in love. We cared about each other. We took care of each other. Once my daughter was born, that's when I really started to realize that I had to do more for myself in order to be what I wanted to be for her. And I think a lot of mothers, and probably even fathers, go through this time, this little this little metamorphosis, this period of metamorphosis, that you choose to do better, not for yourself, but for someone else. And this can be mistaken for self-love, but it's also not self-love. It is just a mechanism in our bodies, in our hearts, in our minds that we want to do better for the ones that we love. And this was my daughter. So I left that relationship. And my third primary relationship was my last marriage to my karmic soulmate, who I thought uh, I loved. And of course, again, some of us never get beyond this point where we think that we're a loving person. And I'm not putting that down at all. This is all part of the process. And sometimes this work takes lifetimes. So if you're a new human, you're going to experience possibly many, many lifetimes, maybe thousands of years of lifetimes before you get through this process. And then you finally die with consciousness. And then from there, it's my understanding that you don't incarnate anymore. Not for learning purposes. Maybe there are other reasons, but at least not in the human form, which is considered to be a really difficult field of learning, is the human experience. And the reason why brave souls come here to learn, and also for the experience of love, which is like no other, from what I understand. So I'm in this relationship now. I was with my last husband for almost 25 years. We were in business together for more than 12 years of that time, and we didn't get married until the last 5 years. So I really believed that I was a fully functioning, open-hearted person. It's only now when I can look back with clarity that I can see how absolutely impossible that was, and how without the ability to protect our hearts from damage, without our ability, especially as empathic people. Now, I'm talking about empathic people as having like empathy on steroids. So when you are empathic, you are first um, the biggest mechanism in your heart is to care for other people, even over your own care. And this is something that is very damaging to an empathic person if they don't learn to protect their hearts. And what I mean by protect, and I should say protect their energy, not their hearts. The heart is a whole nother mechanism. The energy is our body. So if you have learned to protect your energy, which I have since learned, and the reason why I am able to speak so clearly about it is because we don't understand that when we are just open and we want to care for other people, we're compassionate and empathetic, we often get run over, we get taken advantage of, we get drained. And an empathic person is a perfect partner for a narcissist or an energy drainer. And that's the type of person I was married to. And I will never fault him because I'm so able to see this person at his core. This was his karma. This is what he brought into this world. Once he's done with this lifetime, he may very well come into another lifetime as the recipient of this narcissism, and so he can experience the alternate reality of what he did this lifetime. There's so much thought that goes into living these lives that we just don't understand. We think we're here on a random journey through this random place to have these random interactions, and it's just not the way it is. And this has allowed me to really embrace everything that I've gone through and thereby become, a higher version of myself by elevating my energy above the lower vibrational me who lived these experiences. And this is what we do. So as open and compassionate people, we just give our energy to others in trust that that energy will be cared for. And this is a hard lesson that we have to learn. And the reason why we come here is to learn this, is that, anybody with empathy, if you're not a narcissist or an energy vampire, which is another word, I guess, for narcissist, is that we all have empathy and compassion, and we all have to deal with this to some degree. But for highly tuned empaths, it is definitely something we need to focus on. So in this relationship, I was emotionally drained for almost 25 years. And I was so unaware of what was happening because I had no, I don't know how to write, I don't know how to say this without keep saying self-love. That is just, it's such an overused term. Without a connection to um, my own energy, my own ethereal being, the part of me that is not human, the part of me that is driving this human vehicle, the ethereal me. I was so out of touch with her, my intuition, that's a practical way to put it. I was out of touch with my intuition. And I had thought, my ego had convinced me that I had overcome all of the abuse in my life, that I had overcome all the disappointment and loss, that I convinced myself that I was healthy and I could manage myself in any situation. I never felt like I wasn't. I always felt in control. I felt open. I felt all of these things that I thought I was supposed to feel. But again, of course, I'm coming from this conditioning, and I'm now in this place in my mid 40s where I am completely shut down. And I'm only experiencing this love relationship superficially. And I described this recently as like if you throw a rock across the surface of a lake, and the rock skips and skips and skips and skips and skips. That's my heart in a love relationship. Where the rock eventually slows down and stops and drops into the water, mine just keeps going and skipping along it throughout time, never dropping into the depths of emotionality, of the depths of what real love is, and experiencing that which requires trust. So, because I could not trust and I couldn't identify that I couldn't trust, my experience with love was very superficial. And this is one of the reasons why, when I talk about my healing from this relationship, I really don't think about it or identify it as healing from a loss of love. I'm not mourning my relationship with my ex-husband. I just don't feel that at all. What I'm mourning is the conditioning of my heart and my inability to love. Because throughout those 25 years, I thought I was in a love relationship. So now look back at the 25-year relationship and realize that you didn't understand love at all, that you were basically in a relationship of function, and you didn't, there was really nothing more. And nothing really hit harder than my ex-husband telling me at the end of our relationship, I don't feel anything. I mean, he told me he didn't feel anything. So the love that he told me, he used to tell me he loved me all the time, every time we spoke. He called me beautiful every time he spoke to me. He finally admitted to me in the end that he said those things because he knew there was nothing underneath, that they didn't mean anything, but they would mean something to me. So what I had to reconcile is, how could I go through all these years not seeing that, knowing I was with somebody completely emotionally vacant, who had zero connection to his heart or his empathy or his compassion, his ethereal being. When we talk about love as a mirror, the person that you're with mirrors you. It took me so long to understand how I was him. How is this deeply empathetic person? I mean, chronically empathetic, I think is probably the best way to put it. How can I possibly be the same as this completely unempathetic, empty, vacant person? This is the work that has to be done in order for us to cultivate the love that's required to live this life open, with an open heart. And I never know where these conversations are going to go, and forgive me if they ever feel like they're going off track. But for me, this process is important, because if I didn't allow this kind of free thought, this streaming consciousness to happen, I would never touch on these things, these realizations that I have as I'm speaking. If we don't understand that we are not loving because we don't want to think of ourselves that way, then think of it this way. We're just not open. We've been damaged, closed. And you don't have to suffer trauma for this to happen. It is just everyday life that beats you down over time and causes you to lose that trust. So I'm in this relationship with this empty person who at the very end tells me, and the real only reason he told me this, and I'm not ashamed to say this as an empathetic person, is I would have kept going forever, trying to figure out why this man with all this potential was not reaching it. It was my mission to heal him. This is another thing that empaths do. They have a deep desire to heal, even though they're not healed, but they don't know that they're not healed. This is my point. So I had to reconcile with this truth that this man who admitted to me that he never felt anything for me, he didn't feel anything when I cried, which I did so often because of him. I had to get to the bottom of that. And it was the most difficult thing I ever had to go through. I had to come to terms with the fact. And luckily, it came to me from my higher self in an epiphany when I woke up one morning early on in my healing. I had to understand and realize that I was empty too. I was empty too. I had no idea. This was the most devastating thing that to date have ever had to realize about myself. This open, seemingly open, loving, empathetic, compassionate, always reaching out before I take care of myself, always doing for others before myself, put the oxygen on my child before I put it on me. That's who I was. But it was all coming from a very superficial place. And I did not understand that until I could see how closed my heart was. And I know many of you will identify with this. It doesn't have to be as desperate as I had to, where my life was basically defined by this lack of connection to my own divinity, my own engine, my own intuition. I thought I was uh, intelligent. I was always seeking answers. I read every book on mysticism. I loved the idea of the cosmos. All of these things that I speak about now are not brand new. I've always had these interests, and I know that this was a core of me for a reason. But I did not understand that I was not loving either. That I was so unaware of my how closed down I was that I allowed a person in my life who was so completely closed, there was never a chance that he was going to open. The reason I didn't recognize that is because I was looking at myself and I was fine. So this relationship mirror, which I did an episode about, is powerful and it's devastating because we truly have to look around our lives and we have to see what's there when we're ready. And our soul tells us when we're ready. I'm not saying that you're going to wake up tomorrow and be able to see it. It doesn't work that way. It's not something we can do with our willpower or our brain. It is when our body tells us we're ready. And I'll describe this. I'll say this again. I described my finally getting away from my ex-husband as being pulled out by my ear by my higher self. She shut my energy down. I ended up in the hospital. That's not my brain saying, Gina, you need to leave this person. He's not good for you. No, I did not have the capacity to do that. I was on a mission to heal him. Well, the mission I was actually on was to heal myself. And this is what we do. This is why empathic people become psychologists, why they become life coaches, which I have a certification for, why they become nurturers, because they have such a desperate desire to heal themselves and they project that out onto everyone else. Now, if you are empathic and you are actually healed, you understand that all of that is not necessary. You understand by your very existence, you are healing others. You're healing the earth. You're healing humanity. And you may be drawn to a vocation where you share, as I have been, or not. But what you do understand when you become healed and your heart opens again, and now you are in self-love, that you don't need to go out and heal anyone. that you actually learn that leaving others alone to go to find their own way is the best way for them to heal. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. And this is why it finally felt right to let my ex-husband go and to not worry about how he's doing and to not think about what he's going through, which I know, I know in my body that losing me, and I'm not saying this to be, uh, to sound like anything more than anyone is, but I was an empathetic partner. I dealt with everything. And I was the light in his life. I was his illumination. I was his energetic source. There's an article on my website called Love and the Emotional Vampire. It's not about specifically my experience because I was not healed when I wrote that. But it's a general discussion about love between a giver and a taker. And it's on my website if you're interested. But my book begins with uh, a chapter about this from a healed perspective. And when that becomes available, I'll let you know. Um, but what I want to make clear here is that we we empathetic people need to heal others because we need to heal ourselves. And we don't know how to do it, so we reach out to do it, just like everyone else who's in their lower vibrational selves, their darkness, is we reach out for whatever we can grab onto to heal or to feel better. And it's not until we understand that we have to surrender all of that, we have to let go of all need of anything external of us, we have to let go of our ideal of ourselves, we have to let go of our belief systems, our ideals of everything. We have to just let it all drop, because what they become is all of those ideas and thoughts, and they become our armor. They become our barrier to our hearts, for ourselves and for others. This is why we don't meet open, loving people when we're in our lower vibrational versions. We only meet other people in the same condition. This is the frequency. This is the resonant match of frequency. This is one frequency going out into the universe, finding its resonant match and pulling it back in. This is how the universe works. So when we're in our lower vibrational iterations of ourselves, which is an important part of our existence as a human being, it is the experiential phase of our existence as a human. Oh, this is just so wonderful to think about from a broad scale, from a high perspective. It's so easy to see how clearly it works, or so clear to see how easy it works. Maybe that's better. It just has such a grand purpose, all of that we go through. And when we're able to reconcile it, look back at it and see the purpose of it is when we heal, when our heart begins to open. And this is when we're embodied, or we become the embodiment of self-love. So how do we achieve self-love? I mean, that's the question, right? It's so important. I can't do anything else without it. How do I get it? Well, I have some experience with that too. I mean, I've heard so many people talk about it, myself included. Self-love, 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 blah, blah, blah. What the fuck does it mean? I mean, that's why I wanted to talk today, because what is required is a reconditioning of our hearts. You don't just go from being this lower vibrational version to being this higher vibrational version. There is a process that has to happen. Everything in this life requires a process. That's how we learn. I talked briefly about the spiral of life, and I'm writing an article about this because it's so fascinating, where we are in a spiral where there's no linear track to anything in this lifetime. There's just not a linear track. It's not how it works. Just like time is linear. Because time is linear, we are tricked into thinking that everything is linear. I go from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. That I can count on every day. I take a step in this direction and another step and another step. I can see my goal. Why aren't I getting there? Because there's an energetic cyclone happening that that we step into when we reach out for something, we want something in our lives. And then if we are aware of the current, and this awareness is our connection with our spirit or our divine self, our higher self, our divinity, the universe, the cosmos, our mothers, the Sophia. I refer to God as Sophia. Sophia is I think, one of the first names for the cosmos and the universe. That is the consciousness that created all life. That is my God. Her name is Sophia. So this is conscientious design, this life. It's not meant to be lived the way we think it should be. And we don't know any better because we erase all our knowing before we come here. So we have a clear, open palette to experience without predetermined opinions or knowing. So we step into this energy, and if we're aware of it, we can lie back in it and we can be taken to our goal. And it's not like we're doing anything, but everything that we do while we're in this spiral of energy that takes us towards our goal, then away from our goal, and then towards our goal, and then away from our goal. And by the time we reach our goal is changed because we have changed. The goal is decided by our brain, which is primarily our ego or our personality. So when I want this thing that I want right now, and I'm going to walk straight over there and get it, by the time you go through this spiral and you have these experiences, and most of them are self-examination, which is if we're aware of what's happening and we see that we're in a place that we don't want to be, why am I in this place? We go within, we go inside of ourselves and ask that question. We don't ask externally. And when we allow ourselves to sit in this energy, we are given the answer. Just like the healing from my relationship, which turned out to be a healing from my lower self, that's how I ascended from her, was to see her clearly and to accept her lovingly. And I don't see anyone or anything else anymore. I only see her. I don't see my ex-husband. He was a catalyst for sure, but has nothing to do with anything. So when I look back at myself, I see this beautiful version of myself who went through all this experience so I could integrate it and put it all into perspective. And as I'm integrating and I've reconciled with all of that, I ascend. That's how it works. So in this higher frequency of energy, I'm no longer in danger of anything I went through in the lower version of myself, because that frequency is not allowed where I am. Everything on the frequency I am now live within, that I vibrate within, that I have become, is effortless. It is all perspective. It is a connection with my divinity that is as powerful, if not more powerful, than my humanity. It is coherence. It is harmonious. I'm an open channel for my intuition, for my higher self. That's why in the last episode that I talked about the feeling center, the incredible thing that happened to me when I was looking for a job was because of this open channel to my higher self and to the cosmos and all of the consciousness around me that helps me every day. My soul family, who I know by name. My connection to them is absolute. I don't have to struggle anymore. That's why. The struggle goes away. The toil goes away. When you're connected to your intuition, which is a connection to our ethereal selves, that connection is blocked in our lower vibrations for a reason. We have to go through all that in order to get to the point where our higher self says, we're done with this, which literally happened to me. We don't have to experience this anymore. It's time for you to integrate. And that's what I've been doing the last 2.5 years since my ex-husband moved out of my house, which I consider the end of our relationship, even though it ended an entire year before that. So because I went through that dark night of the soul, where I had to basically sit at a big conference table with my soul team and look at everything that I did and come to terms with it. And once I was able to do that, and the hardest thorn for me to pull out of my energy, my energetic body, was the thorn that I was empty too. I was not able to love because I had never experienced love, except for pure love when I was born, because I was still an ethereal being, going into a vessel that would restrict me in ways that I could not even imagine and force me to look out of these eyeballs at what was right in front of me and experience the most devastating things I could ever imagine. Do you see the purpose? Without the body, without the emotions and the senses, we could not learn the way we're learning. This is like the track of learning that is like 900 miles an hour compared to learning in other realms and other life forms. This is what I've come to understand. So don't discount your experiences, because quite honestly, the more devastating they are, probably the more evolved your soul is, because it's choosing these incredible challenges. So don't let that be the litmus test for your ability to overcome it. No, let that give you more power to know that you must be pretty motherfucking powerful if you brought that kind of karma into this life. I know I am, brother. I'm a friggin' goddess. I'm sorry. I served up a platter of shit for this life. And I'm so grateful that I did, because look what I got to overcome. Look who I got to become. My God. Yes, my God. I am my God. And I don't mean that to rule over anyone else. I'm talking about my heart, my energy, my body. It's mine to rule. And I'm no longer affected by anything external of me. Nothing disrupts that. My life is effortless. I'm contented. I have no idea what's going to happen in my life. And that is the most exciting part. It doesn't scare me. I recently, because of my experience that I discussed in the last episode, the Feeling Center, where my body basically said, you don't need to look for a job anymore. And I had to think about it and contemplate it. And I finally I realized, oh my God, yeah, follow your heart. That was a message I kept getting. Follow your heart and everything else will fall into place. This is the guidance I'm receiving. It validates how I feel, which allows me to take a clear, concise action without any doubt in the world. So what I've done since I spoke to you last a couple weeks ago is I erased my past on my business profiles, which I thought for sure I'm going to have to get a job and go back to the toiling of my old life, because my brain didn't know any better. But what my body has ascended to is this place where I now understand that my only responsibility is to live and to be coherent with my intuition. If I'm meant to do something, I will be inspired or compelled to do it. I don't have to strategize ever again. I don't have to struggle ever again. I don't know where money from my future is going to come from. It's none of my business, is what I understand. If all I have to do, and this was the message that came through the tarot readings over a year and a half, the message that I'm still receiving when I open my social media and I see a message from a recommended person that says simply one line that says, divine timing is at work. There's no need to force it. When I'm struggling with the thought that maybe I'm gonna have to get a job, this is the type of messaging, the coherence, the awareness that I have of all the source around me, which is source, where I am guided and validated, and I don't have to struggle anymore. I don't have to. I have everything that I need right now. That's all I need to look at. I don't have to worry about 10 years from now, which is how I lived my life before. This is the trust that has rebirthed in my body. And this trust has opened my heart. And this trust is possible because I love myself. You cannot go there without self-love. Okay, so again, how do we become self-loving? Holy crap. I have to forgive myself. And this is part of my compassionate empathetic being. I'm always apologizing for going too long or for going off track. You know what? I'm not going off track. I'm meant to speak about these things. I'm not going too long. This is how long they're meant to be. I'm not sleeping too late. This is how late I sleep. It's so funny how truly funny it all is when I can look at it from such a place of humor and of tolerance and acceptance. There's nothing wrong. This is where I am. This is the where I exist now. I'm still on earth with everyone else. I'm just a different version of myself, existing in a frequency that no longer identifies with who I was in my lower vibrational time. So, self love. How do we cultivate self love? This is easy. It's easy to talk about. It wasn't easy to go through in the beginning, but I can help you with that. Because what it requires, first and foremost, is honesty. And I was talking to someone else recently too who is beginning to have realizations about their life and about who they are. And I know this is the beginning of this person's transmutation. And I was told and have been told all throughout this connection with you can call it spirit, I call it my intuition, my higher self, all of the souls and the consciousness around me, is that I'm going to be amazed by how many people are waking up, quote unquote, during this phase of humanity. And this phase is the beginning of the Aquarian era, which we're just beginning in now. And I say just beginning, it was the beginning, it's been 100 some years, but it takes a long time for it to integrate. And each era lasts about 2,000 years. But we are now in the age of Aquarius. And this is the age of love and compassion and unity and community and an integration basically of humanity. We're in the integration phase of humanity. So we're learning and we're gaining our perspective and we're going to learn to love again. So I see this happening to somebody I care about and it's wonderful and I was talking to that person and this person was having realizations about themselves and this is what has to happen. You have to start to have realizations about yourself. And I can tell you how to set that up. The scene for that is to slow your life down. You have to slow your life down. You have to stop tasking. You have to stop busying yourself so you don't feel. That's the first thing. Because the scariest part of that is feeling. And if I have to feel, that means I have to go places I don't want to go. I did an episode called The Emotional Baggage Handler. I also wrote an article called The Emotional Baggage Handler because this is so important. Our body has a natural process to purge weight in our bodies. And I'm talking all kinds of weight because when I went through this purging, I lost 30 pounds. And people around me, and nobody really says much to me about it. One person, my sister, tells me all the time, how'd you do that? Uh, I didn't do it. It just happened. And here I am 2.5 years later. I'm as lean as I've been since my 20s. And it takes no effort at all because it's not what you're eating. It's what's eating you. I mean, that's as simply as I can put it. It's not, I mean, you certainly put things in your mouth that you will not put in your mouth once you are in a higher elevation. You won't. I always was a healthy eater, but healthy now has a whole other meaning. I don't put anything in my body that for a moment I think might be, I shouldn't say that. I don't put anything in my body repetitively or too often that will cause damage to my body. And you just become more aware of this because you're now on a frequency where you can receive it. I don't drink pop. It's poison. Sorry. It's banned in some countries. I eat ice cream. I love Haagen-Dazs vanilla chocolate chip ice cream. It's my favorite, but it's the only dessert that I really eat. Unless it's the holidays. And then my sister-in-law makes these amazing cookies and she gives me some and I eat them for 5 days straight. But the difference between a healthy body and mind and heart and energy and one that is in the depths of the experiential phase or the lower vibrations is I know when to stop and I don't do it again or I do it infrequently. So I always get laughed at by my sister and my daughter too, who doesn't believe me or jokes that she doesn't believe me. I eat ice cream every 3 days. I have a small portion of it every 3 days. That's my treat. I don't eat it every day like I used to. It's not good for me, and it makes you fat. So no, I don't do that. But I don't have to think about it. It's just what my mind does now. I select foods that are good for my body. I'm very aware of it. So that awareness is key. When you're in the lower vibrations, you don't have the awareness of it. You have to use your willpower to do what you think you should do to lose weight or to be healthy. That's why the health industry is billions and billions and billions of dollars. And the diet industry, billions and billions and billions of dollars. You don't need a diet. You don't need to work out in some prescribed format. I do exercise every day, but I don't go crazy. I know exactly what my body needs. I do it. It takes a few minutes. I'm done. The most important part of my wellness is rest and de-stressing. So what I've done is I slowed my life all the way down, so far down that I can see where all my energy's going. And you have to look at it. This is the hardest part. You have to look at it. Sit in it. So when you start to feel something come up into your body that doesn't feel good, oh, a memory or a feeling or an emotion, and you normally would go shopping, which is something we do to avoid our feelings. We spend money, we overeat, we overindulge. That's what we do. We project, which is we're difficult or we're terrible. There's so much. Everything that we do in the lower vibrations, again, it's not an accident. But when you're able to look back at it with clarity from a higher vibrational seat, you can see it very clearly. So you slow your life down. You slow it way the frig down. And then you start to see where your energy's going, and you get to decide, do I want it to go there anymore? And this is another difficult thing because we're so conditioned to do, to task, to be there, to commit. I don't do anything I don't want to do. Nothing. I don't care. I don't set expectations. I'm a follow througher, which I think has helped me with this. If I say something, I do it. I don't say things unless I mean it. And if I mean it, I do it. I will not say, hey, I'm going to make you brownies. It's funny. I'm making my daughter brownies for her birthday. I'm going to make you brownies next week because I want to give them to you because I want to celebrate something. And then I go away and I never bring you brownies. No, I'm going home and I'm going to make you brownies and you're going to get your brownies. I follow through because I only commit on the things that I want to do. Follow through is a really good litmus test for you to see how open you are. How many things do you say you're going to do and you don't ever do them? Oh, I'm going back to school. Oh, I'm going to lose weight. Oh, I'm going to stop drinking. Oh, I'm going to stop smoking. Oh, I'm going to be a better friend. Oh, yada, yada. When you don't follow through, you don't have a connection to what that is because you're not connected. And you're not going to overpromise or set expectations you don't want to carry out if you are healthy. So slow your life down. Where's your energy going? Do you want your energy to go there? I don't care if you volunteer at the dog kennel or you go to church every Sunday or you volunteer at some shelter. Those are all wonderful things. But if you're doing it to escape your own humanity, that's not cool. You shouldn't be serving unless you have a heart that's clear. Then you serve from a place of enrichment and not desperation. So where's your energy going? Start to be selective about it and just pull one or two things away. Give yourself more time to be by yourself because solitude is the next phase. You have to be alone. You have to be alone to experience your feelings. And I'm not saying you have to go off onto a mountain and become a monk. I did not do that. When I went through the most difficult phase of my healing, I worked full time. And I worked full time with my ex-husband. So yeah. You don't have to leave life to do this. Just spend time alone. Spend time in nature alone, even better. Take your shoes off. Start to feel nature as your mother, because she is. She gave birth to this body. We are her children while we're here. And if you have a commitment to your mother or mother-in-law that you go every week and even though you hate it, you're ignoring your mother when you don't go outside. So let me use guilt. Of course, I'm kidding. But she's our mother. She is our first mother before our earth mothers. Spend time with her. She will heal you. She will awaken you. She will open you. I feel this is such a deep connection to nature that honestly, if I could live outside in a little teepee, which I've always identified as, I mean, if I were to be reborn, I'd want to be an indigenous person because they are the first humans. They understand the connection between Earth and the cosmos. They are born with it. They don't lose it. It's part of their culture. And that's why the movie um, Avatar is so interesting to me because the beings, the Nami, is that what they called? Whatever they're called, they are indigenous to that planet. And we idiot humans want to come and rape their planets of whatever it's called and disrupt their unity with the earth, their earth and their cosmos. I mean, I can go on about that. I won't. But my point is the earth is our healer. You've heard me talk about this many times if you've heard me at all. I don't go to the doctor. I let go of my health insurance. I don't worry about my health. My frequency keeps me healthy. Because I've ascended to this place of coherence, everything strives to be coherent now. Where in the lower vibrancies, everything is rubbing against each other because it needs to. So earth, nature, water, be around water. Water is infusing. Water helps us to integrate the earth. So stand in water, which I do as often as I can. These are not things that you're doing randomly. They are your connection, your communion with our Mother Earth. The sky, I'm always looking up. The trees are my sisters and brothers. Every blade of grass, every rock, every grain of soil and sand, every plant, every insect, every tree, every animal, every bird, every animal, every living thing, and every consciousness is me. You learn and you see again that you are one with all. It takes away the loneliness. It takes away the drudgery. It takes away everything that used to weigh you down. I think of it as, when I was in my lower vibrancy, I was wearing a suit of armor. And as you ascend, the armor drops off and you become this lighter being. And let's use a butterfly. Better yet, a dragonfly. Because a dragonfly's life cycle is extraordinary. And it's very similar to what I identify mine as. So I'm no longer in a suit of armor. I'm now a dragonfly and I'm aloft. The last chapter of my book, which I'm writing now, is called Life Aloft because it mirrors the life of a dragonfly, my whole book. So what you don't understand when you're in the lower vibrations is that self-love is possible, first of all. You don't know you don't already love yourself. But when you start to unwrap the coil around your heart, when you start to untangle the viper's nest of emotions and confusion and pain in your body, is when you start to understand who you are in the context of where you are and what you're doing. So when you sit by yourself in nature, preferably or as often as possible, you have to get out of the white noise of life. The white noise is the hum of all that's going on around you. It deafens you from anything deeper, including your own body. In this energy, I know what my body needs. When she needs to sleep, she tells me, and I go lay down. I don't care what time it is. If she's hungry, I feed her. I don't care what time it is. I'm no longer on a linear schedule with my body and my body's care. I sleep when I'm tired, which is and this is, I was laughing with my daughter about this. I used to always say, "Oh, I'm sorry I slept so late. I missed your call," or whatever, whatever. I don't sleep till 2 a.m. most nights. I'm not 100% sure why, but it's because I sleep 7, 8 hours a night. I'm not up till 10 or 11. And I used to feel bad about this. I'm like, "No, this is my sleep schedule. This is Gina's sleep schedule. It's not wrong, it's not bad. It's just doesn't maybe isn't the same as yours." And that is okay. This is who I am. Now, do I have this night schedule because of what I might be doing? I don't know. Maybe I'm being conditioned for something. I have no idea. But all I know is right now my time is meant to be spent with my babies during the day. And I've been advised, and of course, I remember this as a resonant memory in my body from a tarot reading a year ago that told me you're going to be working at night. You're going to be doing your work at night. And now I realize that my work I do primarily at night. I write, I do my posts at night, I do my podcasting, that work at night. And then I go into my evening where I have my ice cream if it's the time to have the night to have my ice cream. I watch a little TV, I read, and I go to bed and I don't fall asleep till 2 a.m. I don't fight it anymore. This is my sleep schedule. It is until it changes. It changes. This is what it is. So this acceptance and embracement of who I am, I don't need to follow a clock anymore. I'm not governed by the rules of the lower vibrational world, the constructs of religion or government or healthcare. I don't care, but none of that resonates. So if you spend time alone, you allow yourself to start to feel. And when you start to feel, this is the scary part. And I'm not going to lie, it is a little scary, but you're built for this. We are built for this. This is like the testing phase of the Ferrari. The Ferrari's built. We built it with our experiences. We are this Ferrari. Now we got to drive it. And this fucker goes fast. So what we have to do is integrate everything that we built into a know-how on how to drive this vehicle. So when we feel, we start to understand how this vehicle works, and we start to understand how our energy works, and we start to understand the connection between our that gross feeling that comes up when you start to feel sad, and the sadness that comes up into your body that turns into an emotion that maybe you cry or you scream or you yell. That emotion has to leave your body. That is the process of energy embedded in your body to come through your awareness and out through your emotions. That is the emotional baggage handler process. I wrote about it, I spoke about it. If you allow that process to begin and you allay your fear and you just sit in it in solitude. I'm not saying you can't call a friend, phone a friend if you need to reconcile what you're feeling. I'm not saying you don't need support. You can have support, but you have to do this yourself, is my point. And unless you're in solitude, you're talking or you're, doing something, you have to be alone. If you can't be alone, you can never be with someone else. It's just the truth. So when you're alone and you start to allow these feelings to come up in your body, and it's going to feel like an illness. Like I remember my stomach hurt and I'm like, what is this? Am I getting sick? And then I would feel it literally come up through my solar plexus from my belly up into my heart and into my, just below my heart, my rib cage. And there it would start to form as an emotion. And I would start to feel, okay, do I feel sad? This is when I become ultra aware of it. In the beginning, you're not going to have the coherency to talk it through, but you will get it. But once I was more coherent of what was happening, I would say, okay, what am I sad? Am I angry? What am I feeling? And then the feeling would start to come up into my chest. And then an emotion would begin. And the emotions are anger or crying, or it's an energy to purge it out of your body. So just like when you scream and yell, you get it out of your body and you feel better. That's the same thing. It may not be screaming and yelling. Maybe it's crying. Who knows what it is? It's an emotion. This is what our emotions are for. It purges the energetic weight or negativity or pain or debris out of our body. So when you start to allow your body to do this, and your body's always ready to do this, we just don't allow it. We choke it down. We put it in boxes in our psyche and we don't look at it. Our energy needs our intention. It needs our attention to sit and let it happen. So you can't just wish for this to happen. You have to go through this. And it's a little weird in the beginning, I'm not going to lie, but it is so rewarding. So the point is you have to feel your feelings and you have to allow them out of your body and whatever emotion it wants to escape on. So when you start to allow this to happen, it's going to happen at times where you don't expect it. This is why the solitude's so important. You might start to feel bad when you're at work. You might start to feel bad when you're at your mother's or doing something else, and all you do is you say, I hear you, I see you, I feel you. You find somewhere, you go home, you're done for the day, go home. Sit in a chair, look outside and let it out. Let it out. You can call these your demons. Your demons need to be exorcised. This is how that's done. Your dragons need to be slayed. This is how it's done. You befriend them. You domesticate your dragons. You domesticate your demons is what you do. They're always going to be a part of you. Your darkness is important. That's a whole nother story. I won't go there. It's getting late. But what I'm saying is you're purging this energy out of your body. And until you purge it out, it's stuck inside. And that embedded negative energy, and I don't want to use the word negative, it's not negative. It's just not needed anymore. It's time to purge this old pain and these old experiences out of your body, this old trauma, it has to come out through your body and through your awareness and through your emotions. This has been my experience. I didn't read about this. This is my experience. It needs to come out of your energy, through your energy and out of your mouth or your eyes, your tears, your sweat. Exercise, run it off. Any explanation of energy is helping to do that. That's why movement of your body is so important. You can't just sit. You have to move your body around. You have to stretch your body. There are so many things going on inside of your body energetically and etherically, divinely, you have no idea. Your body needs to move, which is something you naturally do in the higher frequencies. So again, your health is just automatic. So you purge these feelings, you purge these old energies out of your body, and your body becomes lighter. And this is when the weight starts to come off, the physical weight. This is when you become more aware of, oh my God, look what I'm dealing with. Look what I am experiencing. And you start to appreciate all you've been through. You start to appreciate the pain that you carry. You start to appreciate the trauma because it is a teacher. It is not bad. It's a teacher. So you start to see it that way. This is your energy starting to, as you purge this negative weight, this heaviness out, it's your energy starting to ascend. Because now you're starting to see things in a more broad manner. I'm describing to you the mechanism to get to self-love, to how to get there, the mechanics of it. So pay attention. When you allow your body to do what it's naturally designed to do, which is purge unneeded energy, it's almost like, how do I put this? You can't be a prize fighter in a lightweight category if you weigh more than a certain weight. But when you're a heavier prize fighter, you can fight at a heavier weight. But now I want to be a prize fighter at a featherweight. So you have to lose the weight in order to do that. It's the same thing. If I want to be a featherweight, I have to lose the emotional weight. Your body weight just comes off. I'm talking about the emotional weight. This is not a weight loss system, trust me. If you do it for that reason, you're not going to do it. This has to be for your own self-love. This has to be your energy, your body, your higher self saying it's time to do this. If you're listening to this podcast episode, if you are thinking about this afterwards, if this resonates with you, there's a good chance your soul's preparing you for this. If you listen to 5 minutes of this and you go on with your day, it's not time. No harm, no foul. We all have our own time that we go through this. It may not be in this lifetime. So when you allow this process to happen, you start to get an appreciation for all you've gone through. It doesn't, it, you're no, you're seeing it from a different perspective. You're allowing it to leave your body. As it leaves, you feel lighter. And you don't feel the pain going in anymore. You feel it going out. And it's it's exciting because when you understand what's happening, you realize that you are unburdening yourself. And that causes you to feel motivated. And then you want to spend more time alone and you want to experience more of this purging. And you're going to cry a lot. I don't know. I did. I cried a lot. I cried more than I thought possible. The tears, the energy comes out in the tears, in the moans, in the groaning. It comes out in the anger. It comes out in whatever emotion manifests. So, oh my God. So once you allow this purging in your body, you start to appreciate your time alone more. You start to see more places in your life, in your world, where you're giving your time when you don't want to anymore. The commitments that you have because you feel you should have them to whatever construct or person or entity that you give it to. You become more aware of where your energy goes because now you're concentrating on yourself. You're focusing inward on yourself. And you realize where you're giving yourself and you want to let go and you start to let go. And it's a little scary at first because what am I going to grab onto? No, just let go. This is one of the illusions of the third dimension of this heavy lower dimensional life, is that we need something outside of ourselves to feel safe, to feel grounded. No, everything we need is within us. When we let go of the grips that we have on our outer world, on our egoic goals, our personality, when we let go of our shields, our facade, we let go of who we think we are, who we believe we are, what we believe out in the world. When we start to let go of those things, which you will start to do when you see where your energy is going, when you're learning that your energy is precious, you start to go inward. There's no other where to go. It's like when you're hanging off of a branch and there's an ocean or a body of water below you and you're so afraid to fall, you're going to fall in the body of water. Chances are you're going to be fine. When you holding on to that ego branch in your life and all the things in this outer world that we identify ourselves with because we don't know any better, when we let go, we fall into ourselves. There's no danger. You're not going to die. You fall into yourself and you begin to experience your ethereal self. The one who's been trying to speak to you through your intuition, the one who's been trying to manage your life, who you've been ignoring ignorantly. And by ignorant, I mean you didn't know any better. Now you start to see and hear and feel your body because you're focusing on your body, your feelings, your emotions. You're not judging them. You're allowing them to be what they are. And the purging of this energetic weight in our bodies naturally ascends us. If you don't fear it, which it does get scary, reach out. Have somebody who you admire, not somebody from your lower vibrational life, because they're going to scare you into stopping because they're afraid. Find someone that you look up to that you believe has an idea of what this is, or listen to material or read books, which I did. I read the Gene Keys, which I've posted many times. I went through the Gene Keys, the Golden Path, which I highly recommend. It helps you really identify how you're feeling, why you're going through this particular feelings that you have, what you need. It's just an amazing, this man, Richard Rudd, who wrote all these, he channeled all this. thegenekeys.com. Look into it. The Golden Path. It is remarkable. Reach out to me on YouTube or through my website if you have questions. I'm happy to help guide you to what I did. Um, I was serendipitously led to this material. You don't have to be. I can tell you. The Gene Keys, The Golden Path, Richard Rudd. These things, this material helps you integrate. It helps you reconcile. It helps you understand what you're going through, thereby accelerating it at massive speed. An awakening back in the day, from what I understand, could take years, decades. I went through this in honestly, I'm not saying that I'm done, I'm never gonna be done, but the bulk of this where I came out understanding what was going on and where I was and why, 7 months. It's 2.5 years later, and I'm still discovering something new every single day. But my point is if you wanna really experience this at warp speed, look into the golden path. I'm just saying. I was serendipitously led to many other things through my energy, through my intuition, as I began to learn to listen to her. The tarot readings, the messages from social media, from a conversation with somebody, something I overheard. It all becomes uh, guidance because now you're aware of it. It's like you have this sonar system now, like a dolphin. You have a sonar system where that frequency attracts the frequency of information, and now it's available to you all the time, everywhere. Where in the lower frequencies, you had no access. And that's by design. So now you're going through this energetic purge. As you do this, you're becoming more aware of your body, your energy, your heart, everything. You're learning if you are doing if you're reading also whatever it is your choice is, but for me it was the golden path. I'm learning what I'm feeling. Oh my God, I brought victimhood into this life as karma. That explains why I chose a victimizer for my husband. Right? There's so much you can unpack in real time, in black and white, specifically to your body and your iteration, your life here, your incarnation in this life in those books because it's based on your birth date, the planetary alignments, so many other things I don't understand. Trust me, if you want to really understand what you're feeling, what you're going through, why you've gone through what you've gone through, where you're headed, what's your purpose, it's all there. That's what I did. And I came out of it an ascended being. It's happening still every day. And this was meant for me. My soul meant for this to be. I've been assisted in ways I can't even describe. I don't know if everyone will. I'm on a destined path. I'm meant to do all of these things. I have somewhat of a timeline, although it's divine and has nothing to do with earthly time. But all I'm saying is these books map your whole life out for you. It's a template of the karma that you brought into this life, how to heal it, and where you go from there. So once you start to go through this, you start to appreciate everything you've gone through from a different perspective. And it's a loving perspective. You're not in pain anymore because now you're purging the pain. It's an opposite effect. It's an appreciation now. You start to purge, you purge, you purge. This may take a while. I don't know. It depends on what else you're doing. If you are still tasking in your life, if you're truly, honestly giving yourself the time and space to do it, it's up to you. It's up to your body, your energy to guide you. It's not up to me. This was my experience. But through this process of elimination, of purging the old energy in your body, you start to ascend. It's really that simple. Now, how far you'll ascend is really up to your soul. But what the first level is basically an understanding of who you are and why you're here. And with that comes, with that appreciation, is the first wave of self love. Because now you understand where you are and why, at least to some degree. And now you will naturally start to protect the work that you did. So are you going to take that commitment at the church that you friggin' hate, where you're hosting the bake sale? I don't know, whatever it is that you're doing that you don't want to do. Are you going to say yes next time? Well, are you? I'm not. Do you see what I'm saying? You start to learn to manage where your energy goes, and you start to learn to protect it. It is precious. This decision or this desire to protect your energy is self-love. It is the first petals beginning to open. As you continue to go through this, and as you trust this process, this body, your heart, your intuition, as this channel begins to open, you begin to trust yourself. You begin to trust your ethereal body. You begin to trust your intuition because you now know that is the only navigation system that you have. You now understand that if you were to drive this body vehicle and not run it into the fucking walls, that you have to pay attention to the dashboard. And the dashboard is your energy. How do you feel? How do you feel about going to that place? How do you feel about doing this thing? How do you feel about it? It takes a while to really learn to discern your feeling, your body from your brain and what your brain says you should do. This all includes a management of your brain and how your brain uh, reacts to what's happening to your body. You have to allow your brain to take a back seat and trust that it's always there, but it's not needed for this. This is an ethereal experience. And you just trust yourself. So when you're asked to do that thing that you really don't want to do, what is your answer? When you say no the first time, then you'll say no the second time, maybe the third time. Maybe you'll start to understand on a grander scale why your life is out of balance. And when you start to appreciate that and you start to learn to manage that, because now your energy, you understand your energy and how precious it is. You understand that when you give energy, you are depleted. You are more selective and particular about where you give it. For the empath, this is more difficult. Trust me, I know. But it's not impossible. If I can do it, anyone can do it. You start to learn, you start to see people more clearly. You start to see when you're giving energy and not getting it back. Don't waste your time with people who don't value yours. You start to learn that. And you're learning from other ways too. You're not, if you're reading and you are exposing yourself to material and you're going to be serendipitously led to it, all of us have a team of souls around us who are helping us. All of us do. The person that's going through their awakening is telling me a million things that are going on in their life that they were ignoring before that they realize now are messages. When you start to understand the language of your soul, which is resonation. I wrote an article about it. It's really cool. It's free. Read it on my website, postcardsfromasoul.com. When you start to hear the body speak to you, your intuition, your higher self, this is you talking to you. You created this scenario. You created this whole life. Everything that you go through, have gone through, and will go through is already mapped out. Just trust it. There are no mistakes. But what you start to do when you start to resonate with your body, that's coherence. That's when you start to gain coherence in your body. When you start to feel aligned with your heart, and I said this before, your energetic body is starting to expand because you're releasing all this weight. So now it has the ability to expand. The oxygen that you take into your body begins to do the job that it couldn't do before of cleansing and activating your cells to prepare your body to expand. This is ascension. Your body has to expand in order to ascend. Not your physical body, your energetic body expands. This is the ascension symptoms that I've been going through. Ascension Chaos is an episode I did about this. When you feel these physical symptoms, and all of us are feeling it to some degree, this is your body energetically expanding. And in order to facilitate that, we have to get the garbage out. We have to clear the channel. That's what awakening does. That's what the purging of our energetic debris in our body, the garbage that we carry. And I don't want to refer to it as garbage. It's debris. It's no longer needed. It's time to throw it away. We ate the tuna casserole. It's time to throw away the package. I don't know. That was weird, but it's time to purge what's no longer needed. So you are learning to purge. Your channel is opening. You feel this coherency. Is coherency a word? I keep saying it, so forgive me if it's not. It is now. You feel this harmony between your energetic body, your heart, and your mind. The mind's the last thing to grab on. Trust me. I still have episodes, and the recent one I described was one that illustrates that. But I'm learning day to day to identify the difference between my brain, who has a beautiful, good, well-intended thought, and my body, who says that's not necessary. But what happens is you get a coherency between your energetic body, your heart, and your mind, and then your action. This is the key part, is when you do or you experience your life in the way your heart wants, is when you're coherent. So I said this before, if you are shut down and you want the love of your life and you keep going out there and you're this open person and you want this good relationship and you keep getting these shit shows for boyfriends or girlfriends, it's because we're a shit show. You're not ready yet. You have to earn that. Why, if me as a wide open rose who has gone through my dark night of the soul, want to be resonating with you? I can't. It's not possible. Resonation, by definition, is like energies attracting. There's no other way around it. If you're on a lower vibrational scale than me, and then we're not on each other's radar. So that is mechanically, that's the mechanism of love. You have to be on the love frequency in order to find a loving person. And we all think we're loving. Trust me, I thought I was my whole life. Now I know better because I know the difference. I can look back and see my old self and see absolutely not. I was as closed as a clam. I mean, I had no capacity for love. All I had was the capacity for tolerance. I tolerated everything because I thought that's what I had to do in order to be loved. So self-love comes from putting ourselves first, being alone, slowing our life down, purging the old energy out of our body, opening the channel to spirit, to source, to our higher selves, to all the love around us, looking for the synchronicities. They're everywhere. These are the messages. I was synchronistically led to the gene keys. I was synchronistically led to the tarot reader. I was synchronistically led to all the material I've read, the Barbara Marciniak books, everything. It was all happenstance. I'm doing air quotes because this is no accident. It didn't just happen by random. This was all part of my support. And it still happens every day. Now I'm just so aware of it. It's beautiful. This is the mysticism of our lives, the magic. We are ethereal beings in a human form. Once we ascend that human vibration, and I'm not saying we're not human anymore, but I'm talking about, let's say, the lowest vibration, the vibration of survival. Once we realize we no longer have to just survive, that we can actually let that completely go because we are supported and we can truly live, is when we can die happy. And I don't care when I die. It doesn't matter. I'm an ethereal being. This body is restrictive. I'm here on a mission. Once I'm done, I'm going home. So how do we cultivate self-love? Repeat after me. Slow your life down. Clear the white noise. Start to see where your energy is going, where it has no business going. Start to purge the feelings from your body. Sit with yourself. Sit in nature. and allow synchronicity to guide you the rest of the way. Once you develop a love for yourself, you learn to protect your energy. And I'm not saying that you hate everybody and you stay in your room and you never go out. No, I walk out wherever I want to go. I'm just very aware of myself in my surroundings. And I know if I'm around in a place I don't want to be because my body tells me. I know if I'm speaking to someone I don't want to invest myself in, my body tells me. And I don't need anything in my life. If you ask me, am I 100% abundant right now? Yes. I have all the money I need right now. I don't have enough for the rest of my life. I don't have to worry about that. I have a beautiful family, a gorgeous daughter and granddaughter. I have a gorgeous home. I have a vehicle that I love. I have my nature. I have everything, all the earthly needs I could possibly want. I have this gorgeous earth to commune with every day. I have my beautiful family. I have my open heart that needs nothing. And that's the thing that I want to really say before this is the longest podcast I've ever done. I want to say one more thing before I go. Once your heart is truly open, it doesn't need anything. You may still have desires. Like I've been encouraged to, what fantasize about your life? And okay, my fantasy is, when I do affirmations, which all I really say anymore is, the three things I want in my life are true love, my highest purpose, and absolute freedom. That's all I ever desire. But there's nothing in particular. I don't care what form it comes in. I don't need a man. I would love a partnership again one day, but this is the first time in my life I don't need him. I don't care if he comes today. I mean, that would be lovely, wonderful, or if he comes 10 years from now. I'm not driven by need anymore. I am content and my life is effortless. That is the result of self-love. And that is how you get there. You just pay attention to yourself. You put everything else out of focus for a little while. And when you're ready to refocus on the external world, you don't see much at all. Just nature and life. Nothing else is consequential. And love comes naturally. So thank you so much for listening. I'm so grateful and honored to be here. And thank you for allowing me to discuss this incredible topic. And I'm so grateful for your attentiveness. And I wish you a wonderful and happy new year. It's New Year's Eve. Happy New Year. And may you have the most fruitful, peaceful, and centered 2024. Thank you.